Twitter and Facebook. So they're the topics that we're going to be looking at. And we're going to start with, sorry, 1 second, with a really simple question here. What is social media? So the term social media does apply to any internet-based channel through which people can share content, be it text, audio, video and images, news, opinion and messages. And we've got the 4 most commonly known ones there, which maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't, some of them, and perhaps not others. We're going to focus on Twitter and Facebook today, and we'll briefly touch on YouTube and Instagram as well. So, first of all, a few statistics so you can see just how big the reach of social media is. And starting with Facebook there, 44.84 million users just in the UK. What's interesting about Facebook is that the use of that particular platform in the 65 and over age group is increasing. And we've got a stat here that it's increased from 4% in 2019 to 9% in 2020. Whereas users between the ages of 18 to 24, have declined from 24% to 16%. And this is generally down to newer and more different types of social media channels and apps appearing that appeal more to that age group. So currently we can see here about 55% of village halls nationally are using Facebook to promote their hall, and hopefully there'll be a few more after today. So a few more stats. Twitter, 15 million active users, and nearly 80% of those people use their smartphones to access it. And that is growing. And that's from, that stat is taken from the Village Hall survey undertaken by Acre. So let's get straight into it. What is Twitter? So Twitter is a social networking and microblogging service. And microblogging is the name given to the practice of making very short posts on a social media site. And these can take the form of just one-off standalone comments or posts, or they can take the form of what's known as threads, which means you post several, you make several posts on the same subject, building up a narrative or a story. And on Twitter, the content that you post there are known as tweets, and you can use up to 280 characters, and that's including spaces and empty lines as well. So Twitter really is, it's all about getting your message across in those 280 characters and essentially making every single one of those characters do a job and work for you. So you don't get very much spurious or useless information in your post. Everything there is going to be very condensed, very concise. And Twitter relies heavily on hashtags, and a hashtag creates connections between users and themes and topics, and it brings together people with common interests. So a hashtag in front of any word or phrase, and the phrase will not have any spaces in, so it might be English Springer Spaniels, and it will just be that phrase with a hashtag at the front, and that hashtag will bring together people with that common interest. And the goal of a hashtag is to get it mentioned as often as possible by as many people as possible. So if you are using Twitter, or you will be using Twitter subsequent to today, this hashtag here, hashtag Village Halls Week, is what we're aiming to get as many people using as possible, because then it will bring together all of those posts related to Village Halls Week under that one hashtag. So just a quick look here at Rural Kent's Twitter profile page. And we'll come back to this in a little bit, but it's really in 3 parts. This side here is where you navigate around the site and the functions within Twitter. This part here, the middle part, is your profile, and shows everything that you've posted and added to your profile. And this part over here shows you people that you might like to connect with on Twitter, as well as the recent photographs and any other media that you've posted to your website. It's just a handy reminder here of the most recent images that have been posted, but we'll come back to this in a little bit. So Twitter trends. So Twitter works on a series of algorithms that determines what the most popular subjects at any point in time on Twitter are. So when the same subject, phrase or comment is tweeted by a lot of people, which can be anywhere between 500 and 5,000, which is a big bracket, but no one really knows, and that's part of the secret magic of Twitter. But if a subject, phrase or comment is tweeted between 500 and 5,000 times, it starts to trend, meaning that many more people will see and be aware of the topic under discussion. So you can see from this screenshot, at the point that I screenshotted this at some point last week, there were 3 subjects there trending. And that's because many people were mentioning them. So there we go, that's trending, moving on. And now onto Facebook, currently the most popular social networking site. Excuse me. And it allows you to connect with other people, be they friends, family, businesses, other organisations. You can post comments and images, share and comment on content from other users, and create specialist pages to share content of special interest, hobbies, volunteer work, cinema, music, art, and it's endless. You can create a page for absolutely anything within some boundaries that Facebook set. And you can also create groups, private groups, which work from a page to create a group specific to that page. We'll touch on this a little bit more in a bit. So a Facebook page and a Facebook group, what's the difference? And this can sometimes be a bit confusing for new users of Facebook who want to set up a private group for a specific subject or topic of interest. So a Facebook page is always public. Now, a page is separate from your own individual personal profile on Facebook. A page is always public, and that's important to remember, because a group can be public, closed, or private. And the difference between public, closed, or private is going to be important depending on how widely you want that content to be viewed and accessible. So a public group can be found and used by anyone searching for the group by name. So if your village hall, you have your village hall group, and you keep that as a public group, anyone using Facebook can find it and request to become a member of that group. However, a closed group can be found, while it can still be found by anyone searching for the group by name, they won't be able to view or make posts without joining first. And there's a couple of ways that people join groups, and you can either have an open joining process where anyone can join, or you can have a clarifying or qualifying question that enables the administrators of the group to determine whether or not the person applying to join the group is bona fide. And a private group can only be found if you know about it in the first place, have the link to the group page, or you've been invited by someone else. We'll touch quickly on YouTube, which is a video and audio driven content channel where you can upload, share and promote video and audio content, including podcast style sound clips, feature length interviews, or image slideshow style videos. And this recording that we're making of this session now will be appearing on Rural Kent's YouTube channel in the next couple of days. So you'll be able to view it and share the link with other people who you think might benefit from seeing it. Instagram is an entirely image-driven channel, and I always think of it as a shop window where you only display the best images, and whether that's images of yourself, of your family, your kids, your pets, whatever it may be, you know, the fruits of hobbies and things like that you have. Generally, people will only post the best images, and it encourages people, organisations and brands and businesses to develop a very definite style or aesthetic, uploading image content such as photos and creative text-based images. So some people, for example, will create text-based images in applications like Canva or something like that. There's quite a lot of writers that do that. So they will post a quote from one of their books using this creative text-based image software and things like that. But Instagram really is for the best of things that you want to show from an image perspective. So we're going to consider here, just for a moment, the reasons why a village hall might want to do social media in the first place. And really, first and foremostly, it's that interactive element. So to interact with people who care about your village hall and either want to use it as an asset in the community for their own reasons. People who care about what happens in the village and want to be kept updated with what's happening at the village hall. But it really is first and foremostly an interactive two-way conversation, and it should be an interactive two-way conversation because it's popular, and how many younger people communicate and get information as well. And it's probably worth considering here how many people use social media, and those stats we looked at just a few minutes ago kind of bear that out. So getting that information out about your hall and what the hall's doing, and the types of activities that go on there, will be seen by a wide variety of people and a much bigger audience than perhaps would otherwise be exposed to it. It also gives evidence of the value of your village hall to your community, which is useful when you're making funding and grant bids, because you're building up a repository here of evidence to show how valuable your hall is, and the fact that it is a dynamic, living, breathing thing and not just a static building. And it attracts new users, new committee members and volunteers as well, and that can be important for a lot of village halls, I know. So we're going to look here firstly. I'm not going to dwell too much on these slides because you can refer back to this session in the recording, but we're going to take a quick look at how to create a Twitter account. And the first step is visiting www.twitter.com. And we've got here, sign up with a mobile, with a phone number or an email address. So you can do it in either way, and that will be your login. You will either log in using your phone number or your email address. And step 2 is to create your account. So you're going to give the account a name. Now, this is not your Twitter handle, which is what other users of Twitter will see, and nor is it the handle that you're going to be giving out to people so they can find you on Twitter. This is strictly just the name of the account. So you have to use here a name, a phone number, and give a date of birth. Now, what you can do here is consider what information goes in here firstly, because it's probably better to use a phone number, a common phone number to the hall. Maybe a lot of village halls have a mobile phone that gets passed around between the people that administrate and manage the village hall, rather than one single person's mobile phone number. Because if that person then stops volunteering or helping manage the hall, you have to then go back and remember to change this number. Or maybe the village hall has its own phone number, in which case that would go in there. Excuse me. The date of birth can be anything. It doesn't have to be any one particular person's date of birth. Twitter's basing this on the fact that this is an individual creating an account, but many organisations use Twitter accounts, and a lot of not-for-profits and charities as well. So it doesn't matter what goes in there, really. And then customising your experience. You can skip this stage. You don't have to click either of these check boxes. It's really Twitter asking you, what do you want to see? Maybe you don't know that at this stage. And in any case, as you start following other people and other accounts on Twitter, the algorithms will naturally present you with choices that match your apparent likes and the people that you want to follow. Create your account. Again, here we are talking, so this is just summarising the information you've already put in, asking you to click sign up. And then Twitter will send a verification code to either your mobile phone number or your email address, depending on what you've used. And once that's verified, we'll ask you to create a password. Again, if you're sharing the Twitter account with the other committee members of the hall, it needs to be a password that everyone's aware. Password that's used to log into your online banking or anything like that. The last step, sorry, I can see my internet connection is unstable there, so I'm going to wait for a sec. Oh, and we can see here how the two pictures appear on your profile. I think someone's got their
someone unmuted themselves, you think, Kirsty?
and I've chosen at Hammer Hall as the Twitter handle. So anyone using that handle to search on Twitter will be able to find the hall. Suggest some alternatives so that you get a unique name. Has someone got their sound unmuted? Could I ask you all to mute your sound, please? Part, what do you want to see on Twitter? This is for this is the part where you can sorry, just one second, I'm just going to get rid of this background noise. Right, okay, so you can skip this bit. This is quite a broad selection. And as I said, Twitter will, with its own algorithms, suggest accounts and people that would be more appropriate for a local village hall to follow. And then, in order to finalise your account, you have to follow at least one other account. And Twitter, because they don't know you yet, Twitter doesn't know what your likes and dislikes are, is going to just chuck up a couple of suggestions, and Elon Musk's probably in there because he's got more Twitter followers than most people. So they're just throwing up some popular suggestions. Whoever you follow here, you can quickly unfollow them by the click of a button really easily. So I wouldn't worry too much about who you choose to follow there. And that's it. Your profile will then be complete. And when you choose this profile option here on the left-hand side, you can then the information in your Twitter will one click and be taken to your website off of Twitter. You can put your phone number in, and here a short description would probably be appropriate, just summarising some of the facilities and benefits of your hall. So that's what it will look like from your created Twitter profile. And then secondly, we're going to take a quick look at Facebook and how to create a Facebook account. Again, you would start by going to the main page, facebook.com, and choosing to create a new account. Just going to check how we do for time. I don't know. Overrun on this. Right, okay. And signing up, again, quite quick and easy. And the important thing with Facebook is that Facebook is always looking for individuals and not organisations, businesses, companies, unless you are going to pay to have a business account hosted on Facebook. So if you start here by putting maybe, you know, Hammer Street and in the first name and Village Hall in the surname, quite quickly, Facebook's going to realise that you're trying to create an organisation's page and try and charge you for it, or just delete the account entirely at some later date. So here, if you don't already have your own personal Facebook account, you are going to need to set one up. And if you are the person most in charge of administrating and managing the day-to-day activities of your village hall, you can make this as loose as possible. So as long as you have an email address, perhaps the village hall's own email address, or an email address that you're going to set up specifically to use to administrate the village hall, you can pretty much put any first and last name in here. It doesn't necessarily have to be your own first name and surname, but it's got to look like a real person. And what we're doing here is using a Facebook account to facilitate the creation of Facebook pages and groups. So again, you'd enter your mobile number or email address, and ideally that should be a phone number that is dedicated to the village hall, whether it's a mobile number or a landline. Sorry, I'll take that back. That can only be a mobile number in there, but you can put the landline number of the village hall, if it has one, within the Facebook account information. But in here, it has to be a mobile number. You'd give yourself a password, again, a date of birth, and Facebook also asks for your gender. Again, that can be purely fictitious, doesn't have to be any particular person's details. Again, just like Twitter, you will get a confirmation code sent to either the email address or the phone number that you've given. That gets entered there. And then your account is confirmed. And that will be either the phone number you've used to log in with, or alternatively, if you've used an email address, you'd use your email address to log in. And there's your Facebook page, your basic Facebook page showing a name. And again, sort of like Twitter here, you get a list of menu options here. The main body of the Facebook window, which shows not only things you post, but the feeds, the threads and feeds and content of things that other people post if you are friends with them. But we can see a profile page has been created, and from here we can find other people and organisations we know, create a page, post content, and very much more. Going to very quickly look at pages. Pages allows you to create a Facebook page on any subject you like. So if we click create a page, here's where we can put in the details pertaining to our particular village hall. So you can give it a name, you can give it a category, community centre probably being the most pertinent one there. And then you can start building up the content of this page, which is going to give visitors to your page as much information about your village hall, but also where you will post content showing what your village hall is all about, what it does, who it benefits, post lots of photographs and updates and let people know what's going on at the hall. So here we're still in the create a page area, and this is where we'd put the description, again, exactly like we did on Twitter, of our hall. And in here, I would always tend to put information that isn't going to change from day to day, the address, the phone number, the facilities, things like that, because then you won't need to update this very often. I wouldn't go put in, you know, a program of events or anything like that in there, because that's going to change from day to day. Whoops. And then almost immediately as you set your page up, I would check your settings and privacy and decide who you want to be able to view the information and the content that's going on your page. And this is quite an important part, especially because you will quite often be dealing with people's personal data. So people might post, you know, they might make a post saying, I'd like to book the hall on the 17th of January for a party. Please, can you call me on 01303, blah, blah, blah. So people sometimes do, whether inadvertently or otherwise, post personal information on a page thinking it's private when it's not. So I would look at that quite quickly. And your settings and privacy has this handy little utility here called Privacy Checkup. And from Privacy Checkup, you can choose any or all of these options and very easily customize your privacy settings to determine who you want to see the content. So if we take this first one here, who can see what you share, here we go, straight away, there's the phone number. Now, if that's a personal phone number, personal to an individual, you might only want yourself to be able to see that, the owner of the page. But you can change these things to select a specific audience. So that phone number could be viewable only by yourself or by your friends on Facebook when you start adding them. And if it's public, anyone on or off Facebook, so someone searching Hammer Street Village Hall in Google may well be able to view that information. So very quickly, it's a good idea to review your privacy settings and determine who you want to view your information. We're going to just cover quickly some basic Facebook terms, some of which we've used. Profile, whoops, is your basic information about a person or a business. Then you've got your photos, so it can be either a background to a profile or a public. Which everyone can see. Any share on your account or others share on theirs is any content, be it text, photos, you know, images, anything like that. They're known as posts. Friends are people you've asked to be friends or have asked you, and their personal accounts. But on Facebook, they can also be businesses, organisations, other charities. They will always be known as friends and appear in your friends list. Follow, people you want to follow your page, which means they receive your updates automatically. And if people follow you, they don't have to be friends. So they can still view your content. If you set up a page for your village hall that people then like, they don't appear on your friends list, but they still get to see all your updates. News feed, that's basically the most up-to-date posts and all the notifications. You will generally be seeing the most up-to-date posts within your news feed. Messages, you can send private messages via Facebook Messenger to anyone on Facebook. Chat, you can live chat with friends. Group, you can chat and organise with others with common interests. And that's something we might be hearing from a couple of the other halls about. I don't know if they've set up groups yet, but perhaps some of them have. But that's a very, that can be a much more private way of organising perhaps the people responsible for administrating and managing the village hall itself. Admin, someone who manages a page or group, and you can also create events linked to your page specifically. So you can have your village hall page and then an event linked to it for anything. It could be a yoga class, you know, a preschool, whatever it may be. You can create separate event pages that link back to your village hall page. Top tips: be human and friendly, don't post too much. You can schedule posts to appear at the most opportune times. Use hashtags, because again, that builds up a wider audience. And you can reuse whatever you post across channels. So you can set Twitter certainly to copy to Facebook. I'm not sure if Facebook has the utility to copy to Twitter, but you certainly can copy from Twitter straight to Facebook automatically. And remember, someone or several people are going to need to manage and mediate everything that gets posted or shared to your social media accounts. And if you create a really interesting page with a lot of content on it, you're going to need probably at least 2 people to keep an eye on that and make sure that the page is mediated in the right way, and the messages get answered in a timely manner as well, so that someone messaging to ask about a hall availability gets an answer, you know, in a timely manner. So it's good not to underestimate how much work can be involved. And thinking about using Twitter and Facebook and really getting into that conversation, there's a few tips here for using it, and thinking about, firstly, not just yourself, but thinking about yourself in the wider context of people you're interacting with, and asking questions of other people and being curious and inquiring. So it's not all about you. Asking for other people's opinions and feedback, and making sure you follow and like the social media profiles of other village and community halls and related organisations, so maybe local charities as well, and joining in their discussions. So you're really using it to create conversations and dialogue and relationships, and replying to people as soon as you can. And finally, remember to use the Village Halls, hashtag Village Halls Week hashtag during the week as much as you can. And follow and like @Rural Kent, and remember to include @Rural Kent on all your Village Hall Week social media posts, because that enables us to see your posts and share and promote them. And for more, there's a guy on YouTube called 5 Minute Social Media, and his name's Jerry Potter, and he has a wealth of information in his short instructional videos on using various incorrectly spelt social media channels, but he is really easy to understand, really easy to follow. So I'd recommend taking a look at him as well. And that is me done.
Okay, thank you very much, Kirsty. Brilliant. So I think it's a good point now to just ask if anyone has any specific questions or things that they'd like to ask Kirsty or go back over before we move on to Holly, who's going to show us the Benenden Facebook page, and maybe talk a little bit about Instagram as well. So anything anybody would like to ask, you can either unmute yourself by pressing the space bar, or you can just put the question into the chat.
I put it in the chat.
Yeah, that is do you have any statistics on the type of Facebook post that attracts attention for village halls? Angela, there could well be something in that ACRE report on that, but certainly when we hear from the other village halls, perhaps you could touch on that a little bit and just give an indication of what type of posts do attract the most attention, that'd be useful. But in the meantime, we'll have a look at the acre report and see if we can find anything, Frank. Is that okay?
I don't think there is actually, Kirsty, and really the information it gives is just how many halls are active on social media, and I think it's about, Facebook is by far the most used. About 55% of halls have at least got a Facebook page. You know, I don't know how actively they're actually using them, and I think it was about 7% are on Twitter, and even fewer on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, this is why it is really useful for village halls to connect up with other village halls, because you can ask those questions really freely, quickly and easily via the messaging capabilities of both Twitter and Facebook. You can ask in a direct message, which is private, you know, what posts work for you, and village halls, you know, should be sharing that info and helping each other out.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd be happy to. So we've got another question here, which from Lorna.
Yeah.
So she's saying, can you explain how several people could access and administer a Facebook page when it's set up in one person's name?
Yeah, so it's a relatively easy process. The person that creates the page can invite other people to become an administrator of that page. So the data would ping out an invite, and the invitee would see that pop up as a notification, and it would say, you know, Hammer Street Village Hall is inviting you to become an I'm just going to turn my video off because my connection was unstable there. So yeah, the administrator who set the page up invites other people to become administrators, and it's quite a simple one-click process, and that person can then have access rights to the page, make posts, delete anything they think might be a bit contentious, and exactly, it can deal with trolls and unreasonable comments, delete those, block people, and the owner of the page gets to decide what level of administration rights other administrators can have. They can have full access to do anything they like, or they can set it to a slightly lower level of administrative responsibility, if you like.
Is there a limit on the number of administrators, or can you have as many as you like?
I'm not sure there is a limit. I don't know. I'll check that out, but certainly some of the pages I deal with have got upwards of 10. So no, I'm not sure. There may well be an upper limit, but I'll have a look.
Great. So there was a question about just dealing with trolls and unreasonable comments, and I think that the same person, Mike, I think is saying, but my advice is just to ignore them. But I don't know if anything.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a couple of the halls have got some advice on some better advice on that. If it is, my advice really would be, if it's anything with you know, kind of racist, misogynistic, homophobic content, it immediately gets deleted and the poster gets blocked, blocked. You know, the page should be open for debate as well, and having a simple policy in place among the committee could help in that respect, I think, because certainly some pages do get accused of shutting down debate, and there should be a bit of room for that. But really, the Village Hall page is your shop window. It's about showing the best of what the Village Hall can offer.
And just I had a question, Kirsty, that just on privacy settings. I mean, obviously, you know, if it's your Village Hall page, you want to have your phone number, you know, visible and that kind of thing. But is there any other recommendations on privacy settings that you know, the things that you advise, you know, showing, not showing?
Yeah,
I mean, you know, it's a public page, obviously, rather than your own personal page, which is different.
Yeah, I would keep anyone's individual mobile or landline numbers away from the page as much as possible. And I know a lot of village halls do have individual phone numbers on their websites, but again, it's like whether it is wise for that to be available on a channel like Facebook or Twitter, where you have so many users and you have, you know, little bots crawling all over the internet specifically searching for people's personal information. Those email addresses and phone numbers are then open to abuse on that, in that respect. So as far as possible, a village hall really should have a dedicated, if not landline number, then a mobile number that gets passed around between the committee members, and, you know, they take turns in managing those calls, and a central email inbox that several committee members or volunteers or whoever it is that's managing it has access to, knows the password. So and again, it gives more opportunity for questions to be answered quickly and inquiries to be dealt with much more quickly than they would otherwise be if it's just one person responsible for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, brilliant. So if there aren't any other questions, I think we'll move on to Holly. So Holly's going to share her hall's, Benenden Village Hall's Facebook page with us and talk us through it.
Hello. So the first thing I need to do is figure out how to share the screen.
Down at the bottom.
So down at the bottom, Holly, where you've got share screen, there's a little arrow pointing upwards.
It's working on it.
Okay.
You click that and then you select the screen that you want us to see, and then you click the share button in the bottom right hand corner of that screen that's popped up.
Hold on.
Otherwise, I can maybe share mine if I can find your Facebook page.
Oh, it's saying that I have to quit Zoom before it will let me open it. Before I do it. Which isn't ideal.
Oh, right. We didn't see that, did we?
Holly,
right.
do you want me to share? Holly, do you
Hello?
want me to share your page? Can you hear us?
You can do. I mean, if anybody can sort of access our page, then that would be fine. It's a shame because I kind of had a post ready, and I've got our Instagram and our Twitter there.
Do you want to try coming out of Zoom and coming back in?
Let me just quit, and I'll try and come back in, and I'll see if that's easy enough to do.
Yeah.
If not,
Okay.
then I'll get you to just share it. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I can. I was just going to share at least so we can have a look at it whilst she's having a go. So let me just see if I can share. Sorry about this, everyone. Right. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see that.
Yeah.
And have a little read while we wait for Holly. So they've got a very nice, beautiful photograph of a wedding set up there at the top.
So Benenden there have listed themselves as a sport and recreation venue, which is another category that might be useful for halls that host a lot of those types of activities, a lot of sporting activities. And recreation can really cover most things from parties and sort of bazaars and things like that as well. So that could be a different category to use rather than community hall.
Okay, I'm letting Holly back in.
Yeah.
We should be able to now share.
Right, am I back?
You are.
We can hear you. Yeah, we've got your Facebook page up to have a look at, but obviously it's not live. It's, well, we can't make any changes to it. So do
You want to
have a
stop
go now?
sharing? Yeah.
Let me just see if I can get mine to share.
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to stop sharing, Angela.
Okay, right. Hang on. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're on, Holly.
Okay, so that's our Instagram page. Let's go to Facebook. Okay, so we've got various different social media pages, and I will be the first to admit that actually they're not at all maintained as well as they could be. We don't post on them nearly as frequently as we should, and they could be a lot kind of neater and tidier, and we could make better use of them. But we've got a few good things on there, and I'm happy to sort of give people a kind of brief rundown of how we do things. The way that I choose to do things, because personally I prefer Instagram to Facebook for my own personal social media use. I find Instagram much more user-friendly. It's a kind of quicker, easier process to share photo posts with, and particularly if you only want just a little tiny bit of text information. And I do a lot of my work from my phone, so the way that I most frequently post across all of our social media platforms is through the phone. So I start with a photograph of something, particularly if it's a nice sunny day and I'm at the village hall, then I usually just, again, use my smartphone to just snap a nice picture. If I see something while I'm out and about, then I can do the same. If one of our hirers sends me some information about a class that they've got going on, or a workshop or an event, or like today, if there's a particular bit of news or current stuff going on with a nice little text bite or picture or anything to go with it, then it's very easy from the phone just to take that and then have a snapshot of it and upload it onto Instagram. And from Instagram, when you make a post, there's an automatic option to share that to Facebook or to Twitter or to both. And so for Bedenden Village Hall, that's how we do most of our social media sharing. However, if you've only got a Facebook page, then you can do the same thing direct through your Facebook page. So if I show you our page here, this is a picture that one of our hirers sent to us. So we had a wedding at the hall. The hall looked very nice and pretty, and we got the people who had the wedding just to share a couple of their nicest pictures with us after the event. They sent them to us via email. We could upload those. We had a preschool Christmas fair who posted this picture to one of their social media pages and gave us permission to share it to ours, so we did that. We've got some pictures from an art fair that we had, and it's just these kind of all of these posts have come from Instagram. they're little snapshots of what's going on at the hall and things like that, just with a few words, so dates and what's going on and how to get in touch and all that sort of stuff. If you want to add something onto your Facebook page directly, then you can, there's a few ways to do it. And actually it's just, Facebook's just changed the way they do stuff with this connection to Meta. And you can see it's got create a post in Business Suite or in Facebook. They're slightly different ways of doing it, but actually they both kind of follow the same system. If you click on create a post in Facebook, you can type something in. So I've got a bit of text here about Village Halls Week. You can choose who to share it with. So our page is all set to public. As it was mentioned earlier, you can choose whether to set it to public or private or to certain groups of people, but we have all of our stuff on public because there's not a lot of private information shared, and we want to be able to reach as many people as possible. We put a bit of text in there. We add in some hashtags. So we've got the Village Halls Week hashtag there. And then we've just got some bits about village life, village halls, Kent, Benenden, just so that we're kind of trying to reach the people who are going to be relevant to the post. And then we can add a picture in as well. Add photos or videos. And I've got the Village Halls Week logo there. There we are. And then you can just post it from there. My computer's being particularly slow because it's got so much going on all at the same time.
I was just going to ask you, Holly, maybe a bit late, but where would the @Rural Kent handle go in if, you know, to make sure it came to us as well? Would that just get added in at the bottom?
You can add that in. So I can go back and edit the post. So the 3 dots just at the top of the post here, those are your sort of options. You can go back in and edit. And I would probably just stick it in at the end.
Yeah.
And as you can see that once you put the @ and you start typing, all these different options start to pop up. And
that's it. That says on the second. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you can click on it to make sure you've got the right one. And then that's included in there, and it makes it live then. So the hashtags and the tags, which is the @Rural Kent, all become live, much like a kind of link to a website and things like that, so that you can then, people can click on them and navigate through them using those. We've got on our page, we don't have a lot of information because you kind of just want a bit of a snapshot so that people can see the bits that they've come to look for. So we've got our address with a live map so that you can click on it and find your way to us. We've just got a little bit of blurb about the hall, some photos from hirers, like I said before, our website link, phone number, email address, and some opening times, and then the option to send us a direct message through Facebook. And we get quite a lot of contact through our Facebook page. So the main ways that people get in touch with us are via the email, which is on all our social media pages and our website. and then direct messaging through Facebook. So it's a very useful way to have people contact us and reach us. You can see we've got sort of about 500 people who are following along the page. Those are, we don't do anything to promote our posts or kind of pull people into our page. We don't pay for any engagement, and we don't kind of promote it in any serious way. So all of these people who follow the page are just people who've come to the hall or been recommended to the hall or have an interest in it organically rather than kind of being dragged along or bought. And I think that's the way that I would choose to have it. There's an argument for kind of boosting interaction with a page quickly and getting lots of people's eyes on your page, but actually I prefer the sort of long game of having people come naturally, because then you kind of feel like they want to be there and want to be looking at it. Mm-hmm. I'll just very quickly show you our Instagram page, which is here. So this is our Instagram. As I said earlier, it's connected to the Facebook page, so you can see we've got a lot of the same posts on here. If I snap a nice picture, then I can post it on the page. If people send me things, I can post it there. And it's just a kind of eyes-on forum so that people can see what we're about if they're passing through. We use our Instagram much more interactively. So where our Facebook is like a magnet for people to get in touch with us, people look for us and can send us messages and find out our information and contact us in the ways they want to. Instagram's much more interactive, so we follow other halls and you can idea share and kind of network a bit more. And then we've got Twitter as well. So our Twitter, again, it's just the same kind of things being shared, but it's a different group of people using Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Different demographics use them in different ways. So it's useful to have all three of them available to us. And it's kind of efficient as well, time-wise, because I think most people who run village halls work part-time or voluntarily, and you don't have hours and hours to spend on social media posting and preparing things and all of that stuff. So it's helpful to be able to streamline stuff down and do it as quickly as you can in a way that's going to reach as many people as efficiently as you can. And for us, that means posting across all platforms simultaneously. But with the option to, that they're all slightly different, and so sometimes it might make sense to only post something on Facebook or Twitter rather than on Instagram and vice versa, but to have the option to do all three is helpful. But as I say, we need to do a bit more of it, because it seems to always be the last priority on the list of things to do, which isn't necessarily sensible. I think that's probably, I've got to rush off, I'm afraid. I'm happy to do a couple of questions if anybody has any. Sorry, that was a kind of whistle-stop tour. But yeah, if anybody's got any quick questions, I'm happy to do that.
Thank you very much, Holly. I realise we are overrunning a little bit on time, but I don't know. I'm just checking the chat to see if there's anything, and I can't see anything at the moment. But is there? Are people welcome to contact you, perhaps through your Facebook page, if there's anything specific they wanted to ask you?
Yeah. So
would you be okay? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fine. You can see our Facebook page is just Benenden Village Hall. We're quite easy to find. If anybody wants to drop us any direct messages, as you said, they're sort of private. That's a private messaging forum. I'm happy for people to do that. I'm no expert, but we do use it. I use Facebook and Instagram and all these things personally, so I've got a bit of insight. yeah, I'm happy for people to just send over questions if they want to.
Fabulous. Right. Thank you very much, Holly. That was really, really useful. Very, very interesting to see, how a whole's doing it, and also that use of different platforms and reaching different audiences is really interesting, and not something that I'd had thought about, and be able to just share that content across all of the different platforms as well. So that's brilliant. Really, really helpful. Okay, so I think we're moving on to Helen. Helen, yes. So Helen's going to talk to us about Twitter. She's head Corn Village Hall, and she's going to take us through what they're doing.
Okay. We tend to use Twitter. I haven't got a Facebook page. Our village actually has a very active person within the village who does quite a lot of Facebook and Twitter as well. We found it actually works to work in conjunction with them. We often share information with them, and she'll post and I'll post and we retweet and stuff like that. So that works out quite nicely. The advantage of Twitter is it does get the message out quite quickly. And we often have a lot of the local press that follow us, which is quite useful, because you'll find that your tweet will then add into a telephone call asking about the event, what you're doing, and then it moves on to an article on Kent Online or the Downs Mail. So that's worked out quite nicely for us as sort of like a promotional way of getting our name out there and helping the activity or the club or the society, whoever's running the event. We encourage the activity, the club, the society, to make their own artwork, their own words, and then we're happy to post it on. That way you've got permission, their permission, to give out telephone numbers or email addresses without us having to guess whether we're allowed to or not, and all sorts of GDPR issues and stuff like that. So we always check that they're quite happy with the details that we're going to post before we do anything. They want help with creating their own posters, artwork or whatever. I quite enjoy doing that sort of thing, so I'm always happy to collaborate with them and get the right tone out there. The great thing about Twitter is it's 190 characters, so you've got to keep it quite short and to the point, which works quite nicely. And that's really it. And also we sort of use different other media as well. We are conscious at Headcorn that we have an elderly population that don't do social media, so we do try and do other things like some newsletters, advertising in the parish magazines of what's going on as well. So it gives a broad range, so everybody can pick things up. So we are aware that social media is great for us youngsters perhaps, but some of the older population don't engage with it. So we do try and do other mediums as well. So that's about it really.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, isn't it? That it's looking at your different audiences and where are they getting their information, and so it's not saying let's move everything to social media, but it's but certainly to reach certain groups, it is a really good way.
It's a very quick way of doing it to get your message out, especially if you've got a quiz night and you want to drum up. That they're struggling for people to come along. It's a real quick way of drumming up support. It can get shared far and wide and stuff, so it is quite useful. And if you can get your local organisations to follow you, like we have the PTFA, the Scouts, etc., you get a wide range of local followers, and it gets tweeted on, and you do pick up people that way.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. And what about in terms of press coverage? What sort of things have you had there as a result of tweeting about things?
It's anything sometimes, because you'll often find that local journalist is just looking for what's on events and things like that. And then, or you've got a presentation for something or whatever, and they're quite willing to, you know, come down and talk to you, or just for a little article, but it then gets your name out in the Downs Mail or the Kent Online or Kent Messenger. You know, they're often always just casting around for little news items, snippets that they can put into their publications. So it has worked for us in the past.
Yeah. So that's useful if you want to get out a message about, you know, particularly perhaps if you're, you know, if you're fundraising for something in particular, or you know, there's something you really want to get the word out about, then that's quite useful.
Yeah, it's lots of people, you know, we don't tend to sometimes do it for the village hall ourselves, but it's people using our hall, having a quiz night or whatever. We'll do it for them, you know, we'll help them do the promotion for them. We won't do it all, but we say, well, we can use that medium to help you get the word out, stuff like that.
Yeah, great, that's great. So any questions for Helen about using Twitter? Again, you can put them in the chat, or you can just press the space bar and that'll unmute.
It's also silly little things like road closures and roadworks. You know, if you're aware that there's roadworks up the road, you know, often your people are coming for a session of yoga or whatever, and if you know that there's roadworks up the road that's going to delay them for 10 minutes, it's worth just putting it out there that there's, you know, roadworks, you know, give yourself a little bit of extra time or stuff like that. So that's worked in the past.
Yeah, so it's really interacting with a lot of users and just giving them sort of general useful information.
Yeah, a quick heads up sort of thing. No,
that's really useful. Yeah, brilliant. So
can I ask?
Questions?
Can I ask, is it like, you know, when you send things out on Facebook, it only goes to some of the people. Does Twitter actually go out to everybody on your list? Do they all get it?
Yes, it goes out to whoever follows you. Gets the tweet, and then they can then tweet it on as well. So whoever's in their list, it gets tweeted on. So it can go far and wide.
And did you do anything in particular to get followers, or did it just sort of naturally?
No, it gradually just evolved itself. And every day you'd get notifications for people that were following you. And what have you, or we followed them back, or you followed a few people and they gave you a few more ideas and stuff like that. So it evolved naturally. But yes, quite a wide range.
And do you get any sort of feedback from users, or is it a route for that, or does that tend to be?
No, it's more of just an we just use it purely to disseminate information. We don't get anything back from it. So.
Yeah, right, brilliant. So I think now I don't know, has Deborah joined us, Kirsty? She's here, great. Okay, so just to finish up, we've got Deborah Hart from Barham Village Hall, and she's going to show us a series of posts that they've done, and to give you an idea of, you know, the kind of things that they have put onto their Facebook page. So I'm just going to say thank you very much to Helen, and then I'm going to share my screen again, and Deborah's going to talk about her posts. Right, so Deborah, can you see that okay?
Yeah, I can, that's fine. Thanks very much, Angela.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm Deb, and we are in Barham, which, if you're not familiar with it, is if you draw a little triangle, I guess, between Canterbury and Dover and Folkestone, we're kind of in the middle. We're a rural community, lovely village, nice primary school, nice pub, those kind of things, the same as lots of others, I'm sure. We've had our Facebook page active since 2015 now, when we reopened our hall after a large refurbishment project. So really at that time, we kind of upped our game in terms of social media and an online presence. We didn't really have much of that before. There was a website, which is still active, obviously, and we run that in tandem with our social media presence. We don't have an Instagram. We do have an old Twitter page that used to be synced up with Facebook, but Instagram kind of took over that sync and we haven't been using the Twitter page since then. But useful to hear Helen's thoughts on Twitter there. It might be something that I can embrace again for the future. So I just wanted to spend a little bit of time telling you about what we use our page for, and apologies because I did join in the Zoom here a little bit late today, so it may be things that have been covered by previous speakers. But what you're seeing there on that first slide that Angela's sharing is an advent calendar project that we ran this time last year, or just before obviously Christmas, through December, while we were in the lockdown period still, as a way to keep community engagement going across the local village area there. It worked by each house, or having volunteers for each day of the month through December, displaying a little advent window there, and then we would post about it on the page so that people could, on their daily walks, go and check out the window displays, as well as exploring areas of the village they hadn't necessarily been to or been familiar with before. It actually got some really good engagement there. I know those figures are really small, but we've got 20 likes on this post here, which was the main calendar post. But each of those individual days we were sharing, thanks for the Zoom, we were sharing different window displays as and when they were launched, and each of those posts was getting in the region of 40 to 50 likes and reactions. When I say likes, it's not just the little blue thumbs up, it can be the red heart shape or the yellow smiley face, all of which obviously mean different things, but they count a lot in terms of how your Facebook page grows and shares the content. So it's really important to encourage your followers and your likers to like your posts. If they can put a little red heart shape on, even better. The next slide that I have there is advertising a fast food van that meets at the hall there and sells Jamaican fast food in this instance. Every time they meet, we try and pop a little banner up. We've got a few regular kind of food vans that come and sell from our premises there, just in the car park, not actually in the building itself. But it's a good way of just letting people know, you know, it's Thursday, the chip van's here, or, you know, it's Tuesday, come get Jamaican food, whatever it might be. As I'm sure has been mentioned previously, it's a lovely way to just engage the neighbourhood in what's going on locally immediately, really. The next page, I think, is, sorry, the next slide there is advertising the hall itself and our facilities. Now, we do this periodically. If there are, you know, if we've had a new thing added in, recently when we had Wi-Fi added, we made a big deal about that. We've just had a new PA system, so we'll be posting about that. This was just a general post that I put up about the hall being available for weddings and parties and special events and stuff. This was something that I did in the autumn last year. So as people are coming out of lockdown and starting to look for venues for celebrations, I just thought it was a lovely opportunity to just spread the word and remind people that we're there. Our facilities are lovely, and actually by putting pictures on like this, and I know this has been mentioned before, it's so much more engaging from a user point of view to actually see the premises there rather than just hearing a line or two. You know, come and check us out, or book our hall. It's a great forum for actually showing people rather than just telling them. And then our next slide there, this is, I'm just making sure you've got the same one as we do, is the price freeze one. And now this was really important for us after lockdown to make sure that people knew, not just our local community, but potential hirers as well, that we weren't in it for the money. You know, we were there to support users in the hall, to bring people into the village and to help people get back on their feet after lockdown. So we didn't raise our prices, our higher rates for that year. And this was just about telling people that. So a great way to inform the local community about the news going on in the hall. We also do a really good, I say really good, I think it's really good. It seems to get some good interactions anyway. A What's On guide at the start of every month, which gets pinned to the top of our Facebook page there. So people always know where to find it. It's the first thing that they see when they go to the page. Literally just a calendar of what's on this month, Monday to Friday, weekend events listed, all of the regular hirers, details and contacts are listed there as well. So it's an easy way of letting people know what's going on in the hall at any particular time, and as I say, what the news is that you've got to share. Our next slide there, I'm really sorry, I'm ripping through these. I'm conscious of the time. So please feel free to questions.
Am I moving on? Are we on the, so this is the, is it the next one, or is this, I'm not sure where we are.
Yeah, that's lovely. This one you're looking at now was actually a video post, and you can post videos if you know, I know we've talked about going down and maybe making sure you take lots of photos, take video content as well, because you can share that easily on Facebook. And actually Facebook algorithm will prioritize videos and photos over just text. So the more detail you put up there, the more your post will be seen by other people. So we took a little video here just of the Christmas fair that was running in the hall. Literally just went around filming the stalls before it opened, and then let people know, you know, we're opening in half an hour, come down, here's what we've got going on, it looks amazing. And that was a really well attended event with lots of engagement on the post there. So that was a good way to share that information. Our next slide, I'm just making sure you've got the same one as me. This is our village safari. Now, this has been an event we've been running every year for several years now. And just check out that reach. I'm so proud of this. 12,000 people saw this event. Now, there aren't that many people in Barham at all. And so that's a fair indicator to me that not only are our posts reaching our local neighbours, but they are being shared, whether or not that's by neighbours themselves, by people in our local community, or by people in this instance here who are coming into Barham to enjoy this event, who may live outside of the area. So it's a really good way to set up a Facebook event like this. If you are having a one-off event or a community day, or a local, you know, like the Christmas fair would be another good example of that. You can set up an event in your Facebook page rather than just post about it. And the beauty of events is that when your visitors, when your customers mark themselves as I'm attending this or I'm going to this event, their friends will see that as well, and their followers will see it, and so it grows bigger and bigger and wider, and you reach more people like that. You can still share those posts, you can still post within the event itself, so you can give updates. And in this example here with the village safari, if anyone's unfamiliar with that concept, it's like a big boot fair, a garage sale basically spread around the village. And in this instance here, we had lots of people posting within the event, you know, what they were selling, where to find their house, where to get a bacon sandwich on the day, those kind of things. So it was a really interactive event, that one. Our next slide is something we're doing to, keeping up with me, thank you.
I think so, yeah.
To engage some volunteers. Now, obviously, as with most halls, we are all volunteer-led. None of us get paid for what we do at Barham, as with most of your halls, I'm sure. So it's really important to keep people motivated to share their time, you know, to invest some energy with us, and to encourage people to join up and get involved with that. Now, one way of doing that obviously is to use the Facebook page to get people involved, people who are new to the community, people who maybe are taking a career break and want something to fill that gap. In this instance here, we were looking for a new booking secretary. So I created a job advert, which is another thing you can do on Facebook. And lots of people think that, well, that's just for businesses hiring new staff members, but it doesn't have to be. It can be for a volunteer position like this. And we had some good applicants come through for this job, and we did manage to, as a result of this post, find ourselves a new booking secretary, which was a really worthwhile way to go about it. Not only do these posts, the job adverts here, appear on your page, but they also appear in the Facebook job search as well. So in theory, you can reach people who are looking rather than just people who you think might be looking, if that makes sense. Our next page here is just a little bit about how to get the best out of your online presence. So all of the things that I've talked about so far are what we do down in Barham. And this is about how to get the best out of having your Facebook page here. And I just wanted to show you, this is called Facebook Business Suite, basically. And if you have got a Facebook page, it's a really easy and user-friendly interface to enable you to get the most out of your page. If you look at those options down the side there, you've got things like the events mentioned, you've got the jobs that I mentioned there, you've got a quick way to access your messages, If you want to pay for advertising, then you can do. We don't spend a penny on our village page here on advertising. All of our reach and all of our posts are generated organically. So that means that people come to the page or follow the posts from seeing them in their newsfeed, and from seeing friends of friends follow them in their newsfeed too, and liking our posts. But if you did want to get involved with advertising, then there's options there from the business page. The thing I wanted to draw your attention to really is the bit at the bottom that says Insights. And if we click through to our next slide there, I can just show you a little bit about Insights. Now, this is a really useful tool for anyone running a Facebook page, because it tells you about your audience. You don't have to guess anymore. Up until now, we know that everyone, or 80%, I'm going to say, of the people who follow our page are probably in our local area, because that's the nature of our page. We're targeting a local community here. But actually, the insights give you much deeper information about that. Just looking at the very bottom here, where you can kind of see a blue wiggly line, you may have to, that's the one, thank you, Angela. So you've got the blue blocks there are women, and the purple blocks are men, and this insight here is telling us that for a period of a month there, here is the gender breakdown for the people following your page. Now, that might not mean anything to you, but it might give you a little bit of a clue there that actually who's watching what we post. It's women between the ages of 25 and 54. So obviously there are people either side of that, and there are men involved as well, because it looks like we have got some male Facebook followers. But the majority of people following our page are female, and within that early to middle-aged bracket there. So that's a really lovely way to think about, well, how do you engage those people more? You possibly don't want to be posting about you know, a children's activity that's aimed at the children themselves. Maybe you want to be posting something that's aimed at the parents instead. Maybe you don't want to be posting about anything that's really male heavy, or anything that's just for the elderly. Although having said that, obviously there are lots of older users, older members of the community who might not use Facebook, and I'll just touch on that a bit more towards the end there. But basically, using these insights here can give you a really nice indicator as to who's following your page and what kind of people are engaging within the posts that you make there. Just going up a little bit further there, and the slide, stay on that same slide, that's it, yeah, right across the middle there, we've got something called content there. That's basically just what kind of content are you posting that's reaching the most people. So if you're not sure, you know, I've put out 5 or 6 posts this month, and I don't know like which of those is successful or which of those isn't, drop onto those insights there, and that will give you literally an overview as to what's been successful in terms of reach and engagement, and what hasn't. And then finally, and I'm sorry that I've gone from the bottom up there rather than the top down, that was very practical. Right at the top there, just tells you a little way,
yeah,
how your page is faring on a monthly basis. And mine obviously is really static there. It looks kind of low down, but that's just kind of the baseline, literally. The little peak that you can see is at the start of each month, where I post our What's On guide. All of our posts tend to get generally, you know, a kind of level of engagement, unless there's something really exciting going on, like a village fete or a new class opening, or you know, something really fun that we need to engage the community with. Otherwise, lots of our general posts receive the same kind of levels of engagement, other than, as I say, that What's On post at the start of each month there. So the best ways you can get the most out of your Facebook page, I think, and this I'm sure has been said, making sure your contact details are up to date, making sure you've got an out of office on, or an automatic reply on your messenger. You can set that up to be really reactive, so you can have a general kind of, we'll get back to you when we can, or you can have a, here's where you find our class listings, here's where you find our bookings details, here's where you find our rates. You can put as much as you like on that out of office on your messenger, and it makes replies and contacting potential customers there really easy. I know this has been mentioned before, you know, if you're pressed for time, we're all working hard and you know, volunteering, and time is a premium. Making sure as much of this is automated and simple as possible is definitely a way to go. I would definitely encourage your local community to get involved, either with tagging your page in relevant questions on our Facebook groups. If you're in a community group, for example, and someone's saying, oh, anyone know of any good venues I can book for a wedding? That's where your neighbours need to be jumping on and saying, yeah, Barham Village Hall is great, facilities are good, here's their website or here's their Facebook page, and tagging you in that by using the little @ symbol and then Barham Village Hall or whatever your hall address is there. That's a great way of getting new customers in, because quite often in those posts, people are just looking for a general thing, and once they are aware that you're on the radar there, that you exist, then they can come to you with all of their questions and make sure that you're the right place for them. Another good way of using your local community is by asking them to react to your posts. And as I said earlier, not just the little blue thumbs up, but if you can chuck a red heart on there, then that means that Facebook shows that post to more people within its algorithm. If you can put happy smiley face in, same thing applies. Obviously, if it's not a happy smiley kind of post, then don't go asking people for kind of weird reactions there, but encouraging people to respond. And actually having some social kinds of posts up there is a nice way to do that. Even just, we recently relaunched our coffee stop morning, which is a coffee morning aimed at the older members of the community, many of whom might not be Facebook users, but I still posted about it. And instead I made it into a social post, like, how do you take your tea? Is it on a scale of builders, or do you like it really milky? And just got people to kind of post some reactions through and add some comments in. And that was a really quite a highly a post with quite a high reach there, just because it was kind of a silly social thing that everyone's got an opinion on. So just little things like that aren't specifically related to an event at the hall, but just get engagement there is a real good thing to try from time to time. I would definitely say, if you can, post relevant content on a regular basis. And again, your insights will tell you when that audience that we identified earlier, when they're online. It may be that you find most of your audience is online at 7 at night. And it might be that that's not a convenient time for you to be sitting down posting on Facebook, but you can use the schedule function. You could sit down at 9 in the morning whenever it suits you and schedule posts for the entire week or even the month ahead. Again, make it work for you. There's loads of convenient tools on there that make this a lot more user-friendly than lots of people think it might be. I would also link your Facebook group to your community, link your Facebook page to your community group. Within our village area, we have a Facebook group for the village. We also have an Elam Valley group, which caters for lots of the villages up and down the valley. There's also a Canterbury residents group, which is obviously a much bigger animal there. But our Barham Village Hall page is linked in with all of those so that we can be present and reactive and responsive to people asking questions, even just getting your name out there. It's really good to be involved in those groups. That was quite a new Facebook development. Not long ago, pages couldn't join groups. It had to be an individual, a person in the groups there, but pages can join most of our groups now. So definitely have a look at that. And then finally, the last thing that we did was actually run a Facebook session, a training session for some of our community members who may not have even been familiar with, like, what is Facebook, what is social media, why do I need to be involved? Older members who got given an iPhone for Christmas and they're like, I don't even know what to do with this. So we sat down and we probably will run this again in the future because it was really well attended, and I hope that the people who came got lots out of that session. Obviously it's a massive subject. I could rattle on for hours, and I'm literally getting the nods now that my time is up. So yeah, it's another nice thing to do if you have got neighbours who, we are quite an elderly population, I guess, within the village, but lots of those do use Facebook now. They're on there, they're trying, they're getting involved, because it's not just about showing your cat posts to your niece. It's about engaging in your local area and finding out what's on and being a part of something, which I think since lockdown everyone has appreciated loads more. So hopefully that's been useful, guys.
Fantastic, thanks, Deb. That's a huge number of ideas and things to take away from that. And we could have gone on and on. So I think we perhaps ask you back for a part 2 and the others as well to talk further. So thank you very much to the presenters and speakers. If you feel there are things that we could cover to do with social media that the Village Hall Advice Service in particular could run, which would be helpful to you, then I'd love to have some feedback from you. We weren't quite sure where everybody was with social media, so we sort of probably tried to cover all the bases, and it is such a huge subject, as Deb says. We would be very happy to try to do more, and different areas, or more the how to do it, or that kind of thing. So it'd be great to have any feedback on this session and what else you might like to see covered. And I think lastly, can you just to say, if you are on social media, can you post hashtag Village Halls Week, please, at Rural Kent, so that we see what you've posted, and it can be give a shout out to your hall. What are you doing that's really that's innovative, meeting the needs of your community, or what are you planning to do in the next 12 months or so? And we'd really love to see any of those things. So thank you very much. And the next talk is on Wednesday, 2 p.m. Is that right, Kirsty? 2 to 3:30, and it's about how to run a community film club. So we look forward to seeing you all, or some of you there. Okay, thank you very much.